What's up, gamers? Welcome to episode 26 of the Busted Buttons video game podcast. And before we get into it, I got to give a big thank you to all our listeners out there. We officially hit 1,000 listens across all our platforms. That may not sound like a lot to some of the bigger podcasts out there, but to those of us that were just getting started, we're very excited. We're very thankful. We're having a blast doing this podcast every single week. I hope you guys are having a good time listening. So thank you to everyone who has listened so far, and I hope you keep tuning in. Now, we've spent the last couple episodes talking about individual games, and that's been a ton of fun. We've had a blast going back and researching those old games, getting to kind of experience them again. But today
we've had a blast in one particular way, but we are going back and putting in the time to research it, and that's really never fun. So it's been fun, but at the same time, it's been a little time consuming. But go ahead.
It's definitely a little more work, but today we're getting back into just talking about some general video game topics. So on the agenda for today, we're going to talk about Halo Infinite, unfortunately getting delayed to 2021. The first PlayStation 5 commercial came out. We're going to talk about that. We're going to spend some time talking about the possibility of less new games in general coming out, and you'll get where we mean with that when we get to it. We're going to talk about combat techniques and action games. We all know Hick's been playing a lot of Ghost of Tsushima, so we're going to talk about techniques. The number of hours we spend playing a game, and that's kind of a fun topic. I'm excited for that one. And then just the general concept of control in video games, controlling the character and kind of how that stacks up versus real life. So I think we've got a pretty good lineup set up for today. I'm personally excited to talk about just more general topics instead of just one game in specific. Unfortunately, we're starting out with, I feel like every time I make the damn outline, we start out with bad news. And I apologize for that. But, the big news recently was Halo Infinite getting delayed till 2021. It sucks, in my opinion. But Hick, I've talked enough already. I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on this delay?
I mean, it's huge news because this was supposed to be a launch title. Game delays. We deal with game delays all the time. So, getting one of those, no big deal whatsoever. But the fact that this was a launch title, I mean, this is because you don't have any exclusives, Xbox. You have hardly any exclusives, so you need that one, or Forza. I would have taken Forza too. Not everybody's like that, but I would have taken that one. But, you're using this game to sell your system, and then you delay it, which, like I said, makes sense. Games get delayed all the time.
Happens all the time.
This is the kind of, now I know with COVID and everything, that's kind of what pushed this back. It makes complete sense. But man, this one hits hard because, you got this huge launch title. It's not going to be a launch title anymore. It's not going to come out until 2021. So I wasn't really upset. I wasn't really shocked, but I was just like, damn, Xbox, this is going to hurt you a lot. I got plenty of games. I can play until then. But it kind of makes me, I've been up in the air about which system I'm going to buy first. I've been thinking all along it's probably going to be the PlayStation 5. And now with this news, it's like, if you don't come out with Forza, and I don't even know if Forza would be enough to make me purchase the Xbox Series X first. I would need absolutely nothing on the PS5 to still get the Xbox Series X if they have Forza at launch. But thing is, I don't think that's going to happen. So now when you come out, what do you have? And this is huge news. Makes sense completely. But this is not going to be a deal breaker, but this is going to affect their sales. What's your opinion on the whole thing?
Oh, it definitely hurts. You're absolutely right. I will always support delaying a game to get it right. Or Microsoft or 343 Studios has come out and said, they're trying to avoid that video game crunch. It seems like every developer goes through. When
and a lot of people have been in trouble for these so-called rumors of 100 hours a week, developers working. So I'm glad that they did say that.
Same here. And then the COVID, of course, makes it tougher on everyone. We all get that. Most of us are dealing with that in some form or another in our work lives or even our school lives, whatever age our listeners are. So I'm all for delaying a game to get it right. But you hit the nail on the head. This was the Series X's flagship, not just for the launch, but it's their console flagship. They've talked about it being a platform for the next decade of Halo games. And now it's delayed. And with both systems launching at the same time, I've always sat here and said I will choose Halo Infinite over Spider-Man
We
Miles
don't really know.
Morales
I mean, we think
day.
they are launching at the same time, but we don't even know that yet.
That's true. That's very true. I feel like they're just playing a game of chicken right now. But that's a whole.
They're both going to get delayed. Both systems will.
I wouldn't be shocked, but it's just it does hurt, and I get it if it's for the right reasons. I totally support that. But one of the things that kind of caught my interest was this announcement came not that long after their big gameplay reveal.
Yeah.
Back at the Microsoft Showcase a couple weeks ago. And the reaction to that was pretty lukewarm. I'd say it was much less than enthusiastic, the reaction to the graphics especially.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, hey, if they're really doing this to avoid the crunch and all that, I wholeheartedly support this. But if they're taking this as a chance to maybe polish up those graphics a little bit because they heard the let's call it tepid feedback for lack of a better word, then I support that too though. If they're using it as a chance to make the game better, to look better, to play better, whatever, then I support that too. So I'm all for the delay. It does suck, but the big question, and you kind of hit on this already. You mentioned that you think it does impact, the one you're going to buy first, and you're leaning towards the PS5 much harder now. It sounds like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I already was leaning towards the PS5, already hard, but now it's almost like, a given. But here's the thing. Microsoft does great with Halo. They were going to make this game look great graphically. You knew that.
Yeah.
And now here's the thing. People want to complain about the graphics when you're like watching a YouTube video or however you're watching, like whatever they're doing, showing gameplay. Yeah. It doesn't transfer as well. It doesn't look like it actually does when you're showing through YouTube or whatever. So the graphics, they're going to look good, but they're not going to look as good as they are on your TV. So
absolutely,
that's something that doesn't bother me. I'm actually more about like how crisp it looks, How crisp, and the colors aren't going to come over great. The whole graphical, impact really isn't going to be great. But that crispness, which, kind of is graphics. But the whole, how crisp does it look and how flawless, is the movement and stuff. That's what I pay attention for because I know those graphics won't transfer. Now, a lot of dumbasses out there can't, because, I told you right behind the scenes, I'm pissed off. I'm ready to go. So, I might just snap a couple of times during this podcast. But these dumbasses out there don't understand that graphics are not going to transfer over the internet and look the same way as they will when you're playing on your 4K HDR, if you have one. Not everybody has like HDR, like Red. Red doesn't have HDR. I do. Red doesn't. So
I'm missing out.
They got sacrificed a little bit on the graphical, the visuals didn't they're the same thing. Visuals, graphicals, whatever. I was kind of dogging you there, Red, but I didn't really know.
It's all good.
How to go about it, but we kind of already talked about the next gen console and everything, but reacting to the less enthusiastic response. Okay, here's the thing I thought with the Halo Infinite, gameplay. I thought it looked like Halo. And that's all I want from Halo is it to look like Halo. Like they showed, stuff we've seen before. I expected no different, really. They showed us that, from what I think and saw, it might be a little more open world. But as far as the gameplay, it's exactly what I expected. And that's okay because that's what I want with Halo. I want Halo. I don't want something different. I want what I've been playing. So first of all, this less enthusiastic response. That's not a difficult word, but I'm flustered. I'm flustered this week from things outside of video gaming, but these people,
it's just those gamers before we got started. Jeez.
Yeah, it's just those gamers bitching about dumb shit. Oh, I'm not enthusiastic. I don't like this. Blah, blah. Shut up. Nobody cares. The game looks great. The gameplay looks great. It's Halo. You probably started playing Halo like 2-3 years ago when you got multiplayer. You probably only been playing online. You probably never did the damn campaigns anyways. So shut up. Quit bitching. It looks good. It's Halo. That's what we want. So if you're delaying it for that reason, I disagree with you, Microsoft, and I am done with that topic.
Whew. Well, wow. I gotta
some
things
going on
after
behind
that.
the scenes
Jeez.
I'm not happy with.
Oh yeah. Hey, sometimes you gotta let the fury out. But I will say, I mean, when it comes to, like I said, the next gen console, you've been leaning PS5 anyway. This tilts it even further that direction for at least the first one you're gonna buy. Because I mean, let's be honest, we've both mentioned we're gonna buy both of them at some point. Mm-hmm. For me, what this makes me want to do is just not buy either at launch because neither of them has a launch title that is worth me going and dropping $400 or $500 on a new console.
Yeah, but we had that text conversation about the financial impact of that, so let's kind of address that for a second.
That's what I was about to get into. That's what I was about to get into.
My bad.
It is one of those where it's like, you brought up a very good point when we were texting or tweeting or something on the side.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but if you wait till they both get good exclusives, then you're stuck paying for both of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And hey, and we do well, but still, if we're talking about dropping $1,000 on 2 video game consoles at the same time, that's a pretty big financial kick in the pills, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But, so for me, it's like, I'm kind of on the fence now because I don't think either one is going to have the launch titles worth buying on day one. And when it comes to third-party games, the big one that I care about this year is Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm going to get that on PC anyway, because that's where I've played every game from CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
That's where I've loved it, especially it's a first-person shooter / RPG. That is what a PC is built for right there. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, even when you talk about the big third-party games that are coming out around that launch window, I'm still getting that for PC. So you did bring a great point when saying if you wait till exclusives for both games, they might happen at the same time, in which case your credit card is going to hate you and scream at you. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't justify dropping $400 or $500 on a console that's not going to have something day one.
Yeah.
And it's, I miss the old days when freaking Nintendo 64 launched with fucking Super Mario 64, a game-changing, a literal revolution in 3D gaming, and we just don't get that anymore. And Halo could have been that. Now it's delayed. I'm done with this topic too, because now I'm just like,
I kind of touch on that financial impact. Also, the Switch had Breath of the Wild when it came out.
Oh,
but
exactly.
I'm planning on buying both systems. Like, I want to buy them within 12 to 18 months. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Buy one, paid off, buy the next one. Now, here's the thing. You get that mid-console life upgrade. That's usually around, 3 to 4 years. I know that I'm going to buy both systems before that, so there's no point of holding out for that midlife upgrade. And so for me, it's like, okay, if I'm going to buy these within 12 to 18 months, buy one up front because I'm not going to wait for the upgrades down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and buy one up front just so I can pay that one off before I buy the next one. And I understand what you're saying. Like, there's nothing there. You no reason to play it. But I'm thinking about this financially. Like, if I want to buy both of these systems, which I do, and I'm going to do, like, I got to get one out of the way so when that next one comes out, like, I can buy it. And that's where I think you are making a mistake. Now, you can do whatever the hell you want. You're an adult. I don't care. We'll talk about controlling people later on. But, like, me, I'm just going to buy one. That way I can get out of the way. So, if a good game does come out, then I can buy that other system like right then and there. Whereas if you're waiting, they're going to drop like God of War. Technically, it'd be 5, or God of War 2. However they want to go about it, who knows?
However they call it.
Yeah, but God of War 5 and then Halo, and you're going to be buying 2 systems like back to back. So, you can do whatever you want to. Financially, if you're going to buy both systems, I say go ahead and buy one up front so that way you can pay it off. And then when a great game comes out for that other system, you can also get that one. But anyways,
honestly, just to piggyback on that real quick, I know eventually we keep bitching about spending too much time on the first topic, but here we are again. But no, like, honestly, if that's the case, I mean, I'd probably buy the Xbox first just because Game Pass is already going to port all my damn games over to it anyway. But anyway, like you said, we're moving on. Speaking of like the next gen consoles, we did get our very first commercial for the PlayStation 5 here recently, and I'm just going to straight up say it. It was fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it yet.
I had not, so keep on talking.
It is. So it dropped. It's literally, it's a live action video of some actress going through and like just like a standard adventure scene. Like she's like, there's icebergs and it's and like she pulls a bow and all this. It doesn't show a single lick of gameplay. It doesn't even show like cinematic trailers from games. It's literally just a live action commercial. Mm-hmm. And their focus was on like the controller's abilities, really like the haptic feedback, like it's like the HD rumble for the Pro controller on the Switch. So it's like, the feedback on the controller, the triggers, the 3D audio. It was really trying to emphasize like those selling points.
What the hell is 3D audio?
I am not an audio expert, like in any way, shape, or form. I don't even have surround sound in my apartment. When people talk about 3D audio, I'm like, I get it's supposed to be like, you hear the sounds from the directions they're really coming from.
Oh,
but I don't know how that's any different than just surround sound. Like I'm not an audiophile. I
think it's saying like if you hear a sound from the left, it's going to play more in your left ear than it is your right ear. From what you describe, that's what I would think it'd be.
And that's what I think it is too. And I know there's like sound bars and especially headphones out there that really that advertise that now, and they're pretty pricey if I'm not mistaken. But so I saw this commercial and I was just, first of all, there was no release date, no price, no information on release titles, not even gameplay or cinematic trailers from games. I thought this was a commercial that absolutely 100% missed the mark of a gamer audience. It sits there and says, oh, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, 3D audio. I'm like, those are nice buzzwords. Show me a fucking game. Yeah. I mean, shit. So I know you haven't watched it, but do you have any thoughts on it at all?
You know, man, that's my bad too, because I saw the outline and what this commercial's maybe a minute at most, and I said, you know what, I need to watch that commercial before the podcast. And once again, I got busy putting together my kids' trampoline. So if y'all wonder why I don't watch things or whatever, it's because of this stupid. It's not stupid. It's for my kids, and I spoil them, and that's my fault. I'm weak. People. I got $3, and I spoil the shit out of them. But
as
you know what?
As you should.
I didn't watch it because I was putting a kids' trampoline together, and that's my bad. But I mean,
is that why you're pissed? Does it look like Homer Simpson trying to build a barbecue
I'm pissed
pit?
about the fence. You know about that. Anyways, like I'm really surprised they didn't show any gameplay trailers. Now, if you didn't show any gameplay, I kind of understand that because if you go back, the latest system that we got was the Switch. And the very first commercial, that was more of a live action commercial with like people going around, kind of showing how you could literally switch from like a TV to like portable. But there was a little bit of like, okay, I guess there was gameplay, but it was kind of shown more in like the concept of trailers. But you know, not to have any of that whatsoever. Yeah, I'm really not a fan of that. Okay, I understand kind of showing some things with the controller and stuff. They actually showed the system too, didn't they?
I actually don't think they showed a picture of the system, unless it was at the very end. They definitely showed the controller.
Probably because it's too big. They didn't want anybody to use it to scale to show how big it actually was.
Right.
But anyway, because I've seen some pictures. I don't know if they're true or not, but this thing looks humongous. But
both the systems do. It's
I don't know. And this is why I threw out on Discord the other day. I go, these consoles might get delayed, you know? And people thought I was crazy. Oh, no, they put all this effort into them, blah, blah, blah. The fact that we've not gotten any release dates, no price, and no information at all, and it's at the end of August, like, I'm not saying these consoles are going to get delayed, but I'm saying, like, it's kind of trending that it could possibly happen because they're just not giving us anything. And I kind of agree with you now. I never thought about it until you said it. It's kind of like they're playing a game of chicken. Like, we're going to show a little bit here. We're going to show a little bit here. But they're not really giving us anything. And, you know, here's the thing. If one gets delayed, I think automatically the other one gets delayed because
I think the other will get delayed the next day. I think they'll announce it a day later.
From coronavirus and everything, it wouldn't shock me at all. But anyways, kind of what we're talking about the whole PS5 thing. One of the first games that was announced for during the showcase of the PlayStation 5 was a port of Grand Theft Auto 5, which, you know, the Super Nintendos had that. The Nintendo 64s had a port of Grand Theft Auto 6. No, 5. Grand Theft Auto 5. Every system, I believe, has now had a port of Grand Theft Auto 5 because the game's been out for like 10 fucking years or something.
Oh, it's been out for
But anyways, this kind of got me thinking. Like, you know, like I said, it was released, I don't know how long ago, but it was a while ago.
Oh, it's been a while.
And the developers just keep on, whoever it is, Rockstar. They just keep on adding content to it. And, like, you know, just keep on adding it to it. And, like, that got me thinking, is this a concept that, we're already kind of seeing this concept, but are we going to see it more into the future where we just see a game released and they just keep on adding content to it? Because really, with updates and DLC or whatever, seasons, you know, maps, skins, you can do stuff like that. You can continually add to a game. You can even add a whole new game world. And I'm going to bring up a game we don't talk about very often on here, The Witcher 3. That is a game that for
Never
DLC, it added I forgot how to say Tucson or however you said it. Say it.
A whole new fucking continent, basically.
Yeah, it was a whole new area. It felt like a whole different game. And I really think going forward, and I want to get your opinion on this because I've been talking for a while, I think.
For sure.
Like, are we going to see less games going forward? And, like, are they going to kind of just keep on adding content to it, like with Grand Theft Auto? What do you think?
I think this is a fascinating topic, and I'm really glad when you texted me this one day, you were thinking about this. And, like, It's an excellent question because game worlds, especially like open world, is kind of the rage right now. It has been for the last, 4 or 5 years. And they spend so much time building and money, let's be honest, the budget to build these gigantic worlds. I don't care if you're talking about Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead 2, Breath of the Wild, like these games, they spend so much upfront money to just design these game worlds. The Witcher 3, of course, Skyrim, if you want to go back even further. And to me, I really
Skyrim's still getting content today too.
Dude, fucking Skyrim's still getting ported. It's probably going to get ported to the freaking Xbox
probably
Series X.
right.
But it blows my mind that we've seen now, like Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be on its third console generation. Like it was an Xbox Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 game originally. And I
bought that game physically. That's how long ago it was, man.
and I'm torn on this. Like a lot of topics we talk about, on the one hand, if they build a fantastic world and it's got good controls and the gameplay and the graphics can kind of hold up across several generations, or even like, let's say not several generations, even like, let's say, okay, we want to drop a title in 2021, like let's call it Grand Theft Auto 6, just total hypothetical, and say it's going to last the entire life of the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. But every year or however often, we're going to add more to it. I support that. Even if they want to pay or charge rather an extra, $20, $30 for an expansion, if it's substantial, I'm all for it because some of these game worlds are amazing and you don't want to leave them, especially the open world games. Like Grand Theft Auto's world is unbelievable. Breath of the Wild's world is unbelievable. The Witcher 3, of course, unbelievable. Skyrim, unbelievable. And if they can keep adding content to that world instead of having to start from scratch every single time, I say as long as the graphics and gameplay hold up, then I am 100% for it. Now, I'm a little dubious about Grand Theft Auto 5 still looking good.
That's a bad example because they only release a game like every 7 years, which is like a console lifetime anyways. So when you're saying, they might want to release one game, well, duh, it's Grand Theft Auto, but I got what you were going for there.
But like if they keep adding to it, like and with Rockstar, like you mentioned, like we've got Grand Theft Auto Online, you've got Red Dead Online now for Red Dead Redemption. I mean, it's like, so they keep adding to it. The Witcher 3 added 2 massive expansions. Skyrim had not only the massive expansions, it's also got a huge mod community that helps keep it fresh. So, I'm on the one hand, yes, I want new games. I want The Elder Scrolls 6. I want Grand Theft Auto 6. I want Red Dead 3, whatever. But, if these worlds are that amazing, why not just keep adding to them instead of having to start from scratch every single time? So, if we have less new games, but developers support their existing games for a longer period, you know what? Fuck it. I support that. I really do. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's just the future that we're going towards. I think this is what we are going to see. And first of all, I want to apologize to the people who developed 343 Industries, to the people who created and developed, kind of same thing, Halo Infinite. I have been bashing on your name for quite a while. Now, here's the thing. If Halo, which I believe they're going to go with this concept where they're going to release a game and then it's just going to be on the system like forever. They're going to keep on adding content to it, adding content to it. If that's the case, which I think it is, Halo Infinite is a fantastic name for your game because you're just infinitely, not forever, but for a long time, you're just adding content to it and you're not releasing a new game. So I apologize. Been bashing your name. Now, if that is the concept, which I said I believe that it is, That's is a fantastic name. So 343, you have my apologies. If you want to go ahead and send me a free game or something for apologizing, I'm absolutely okay with that. But
you won't get it till 2021 though.
Yeah. But like I said, I think this is the way going forward, and this is what we're going to see. Your linear games, definitely, those are going to come out like they regularly would.
Oh yeah.
But as far as your big open world, you know what? It doesn't have to be open world. Just I don't really know how to describe the concept because the concept can apply differently depending on which genre of game you're playing. Like I said, the linears, I think we will keep on getting new games. But if you have like a big map or just a game that you can add, whatever to, like Fortnite. Fortnite's not really a big map, I don't think. They just keep on adding these new different multiplayer shooter maps, like, new skins, I don't play Fortnite, so I don't know exactly how it works. But, I think it's new maps, new characters, weapon skins, like, crap like that.
Yep.
And like, it kind of goes back to that microtransactions thing where, hey, we're going to keep on releasing all this new stuff. There's you've not seen Fortnite 2 for a reason, because Fortnite 1 still works. It's still making money. And like, everybody has seen that Fortnite concept, and they're like, hey, we don't have to develop a new game from scratch. We can just keep on adding stuff to the game we already have. Because
Absolutely.
with DLC, I mean, like we said with Witcher 3, you can add a whole new map and everything. Like, the only thing that you really had to keep consistent is the game engine, because obviously it's the game engine that you use, and some of the mechanics, like, fighting and blah, blah, blah. Adding like attacks and techniques, it's probably possible, but it could be difficult. But
could be.
As long as you keep the mechanics, like, similar, you can update the graphics, you can update the map, skins, characters, mods, weapons, whatever. So I do think this is what we are going to see going forward. Did you have any more you want to say on that one?
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? I guess. I mean, you say you think that's the future, but
I don't think it matters if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it is the future. I don't think we have a choice. So I don't think it really matters what the hell we think. I think it's a good concept on certain games. Like, I think it's a concept that Halo can do. Halo can add, campaign, like, different campaign levels. It can add multiplayer. I said it right. I'm flustered. It's like I said, I'm flustered from the week, man. But I think it's a good concept for certain games. You want to sit there and say, like, open world. Okay, let's say The Witcher 4 comes out. You add a couple new things here and there. Here's one thing. Okay, you can keep on. Here's why I don't think it's good. You can keep on adding to the story, but eventually you need a new story. You need new characters. And you can't put new characters into DLC or whatever, seasons, whatever you want to call it. But eventually, overall, over the whole entire game, you need a new story concept. So
at some point,
it's just, I mean, it's really tough to say it was going to work for this franchise and not this franchise, but I think it's just one of those things that you're going to have to adapt as it goes along. And you can, you can do it, but eventually there's going to become a point where you're just like, okay, this model, I don't think it's really working for us anymore, so we got to adapt and create a new game. So I think it's the future. I think it's going to work for some games. Other games, like linear games.
At some point, the technology is going to advance so far that you just got to build a new engine. I mean, at some point, that's the other big sticking point is, you're outdated. It no longer looks good or plays well. So, I mean, like I said, between people want more story and also just the general technology. I mean, at some point, you've got to have to put out a new game eventually. But, we've kind of obviously been talking a lot about like the open worlds, especially there with the, continuing to build on those worlds. And one of the hottest open world games in the world right now is Ghost of Tsushima, which is killing it on freaking user reviews on Metacritic, by the way. It's one of the highest rated games of this whole generation.
That's because it's fucking fantastic.
But part of its appeal and why people really love it is like the variety of the combat and the techniques. And I think you learn 4 different techniques throughout the game. Stances. Sorry, that's I still haven't played it yet, so I'm all going on what I've read. But so part of its appeal really is these stances. So let's just take a couple minutes here to talk about kind of combat techniques and various techniques that we get in some of these action games. So I want you to go ahead and start with Ghost of Tsushima and take us from there.
Okay, there's actually techniques too. So you have stances, and then you also have techniques.
Well, now you're throwing me a curveball.
Yeah, which are just basically okay. There's a couple different variants of techniques, but basically it's just different ways of fighting. You tap X, hold X, double tap X, triple tap X, or no, it's the triangle, man. I am so upset with myself. I'm sitting here talking about Ghost of Tsushima, all the different attacks. It's triangle. It's not X. I can't believe I made that mistake because it's like ingrained in my brain because there's so many attacks.
Dude, I still don't know the layout of the buttons on the PlayStation controller, and I've had a PS4 for a couple of years now, so I totally feel you. Don't worry about it.
Messed up that one. But anyways, kind of answering your question, it works for certain games. Like the Samurai. Now, I don't know a lot about the Samurai, but from what I do know, I believe they were very good warriors and they fought very well. So, a game like that, with Samurai, I do believe that is a game that should have a lot of techniques, and those techniques should matter. Like if they had a ninja game, same kind of concept. But if you're playing I guess Geralt from The Witcher. He would have a little bit of different techniques, but if you throw a lot of techniques in that game, I just don't think it really works that well. So I think the concept has to have some history of those particular people, group, whatever, having like, you know, those kind of talents and abilities. And so, like I said, it depends on the game, but and that's when I love it or don't love it. If you throw a lot of techniques and stances or what, you know, weapons, whatever, in a game where it doesn't make sense, then no, it's overkill. But if you throw it in a game where it doesn't make sense or does make sense, then I don't mind it at all. And here's the most difficult thing with this is you gotta have the right amount in there, like, you know, because there's a point, and I've kind of talked about this, you know, these abilities and what's the other word kind of used?
Like skills.
Yeah, skills, abilities and skills.
Whatever.
Like for God of War, for example, like there were so many that I didn't know how to use. And if you're going to use all these techniques, you have to make me use them. And that is something that God of War, as great of a game as it was, it did not make you have to use those skills, and therefore a lot of them I didn't use, and they were just a waste. So far with Ghost of Tsushima, they make you use those techniques. Like, you know, let's go ahead and talk about the stances. There's 4 stances that I know of so far, and like you're fighting a sword enemy, you have to use one. You don't have to use one stance, but there's a stance that helps you.
It's probably
if
the
you have
best
a sword
for that
and a
fight,
shield enemy,
right?
there's a different stance. A enemy that has a spear, different stance, and then a brute. Different stance. Like they're using it so well. And I've praised Ghost of Tsushima because like I don't know exactly how far I am in because there's no hour counter. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that one, don't worry.
But they're using it so well. Like it's not overkill. Like it's just a little bit here and there. And you understand when you're supposed to use these certain techniques or like, you know, stances. And like, you know, I don't remember every tag because there's just too many. But, you know, it's a concept depending on the game, depending on the franchise I like or dislike. What's kind of your whole opinion on it?
Well, you really hit the nail on the head when it comes to it. It's all about complexity. Like you want a game to have enough depth and complexity to where you don't get bored with the combat, but you don't want it to throw so much at you that you can't remember all of it. Like you mentioned God of War. Yeah, there were a lot of moves I didn't use in that. Spider-Man, we talked about our last episode. There were a lot of moves I didn't use in that. I like that you mentioned Witcher 3 because the combat in Witcher 3 was so focused on like the potions that you use before the fights that I think if you added more than just the very, very generic like fast versus slow attacks, like you're throwing too much. Like because Witcher 3 was all about preparation. Like you prepare for the battle, you make the right potions for the right or mutagens, whatever they call them, for the enemies you were gonna face. Like that was so much more important than your style or your stance or your technique, whatever. So I think that complexity is such a hard line to walk because you want it to be deep enough and complex enough that you don't get bored with the combat like halfway through. Yeah. But you don't want it to overwhelm the player either. And one of the games, one of my absolute favorite games from last year was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm a huge Star Wars whore and I thought it was a great game. But like what they did was you had either the single-bladed or double-bladed lightsaber. Yeah. And each one played a little bit different. Like the single-bladed lightsaber was more geared towards like one-on-one duels when you're facing like the elite opponents or the elite troopers. And the double-bladed lightsaber was like you're fighting a bunch of like a swarm, like a bunch of grunts, a bunch of stormtroopers or monsters, whatever. Just when you're fighting a crowd. So I thought like just having that kind of distinguishing point was enough to make you, you know, think about it and switch between the two when you needed to. Yeah. But it wasn't so complex that you freaking forgot all the different options at your disposal. So I do like when games tailor a technique or a stance or a style to the various enemies that you're facing. Like, let's say, I mean, like even using Zelda, which we're huge Zelda fans, obviously. Yeah. But like if you're facing a giant big grunt enemy, one technique or attack might work better than if you're fighting a bunch of little, you know, bokoblins. You know, it's like I like when they tailor what you need to do to the various enemies. But like we've both said, just don't overwhelm us. Yeah. Don't overwhelm us with so much stuff that we never use half of it at that point.
I think a lot of times that's just for like collection. Like, hey, if you collect all these, like you have to have, and I've said this many times, you have to have some kind of reward for my collection because I'm not going to go out and collect things if the reward is not good enough. So they're using a lot of these like, you know, abilities and skills as like, collection rewards. So
Yep.
like, that can work, but use it the right way. Like, make it valuable and make it something that, I will use. Now, I know people are saying here, people fight different ways in every game, and they might be saying, oh, God of War, those abilities were great if you just would have used them, but it depends on the gamer too. There might be gamers, we're sitting here, we're kind of complaining about, hey, you can overdo it, you can add a bunch of skills or abilities that we don't use, but then there's other gamers out there that it does work for. So,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I guess it's definitely, like most of the things we talk about, it's gaming. It's an opinion. Like, it's subjective.
It's
like,
all very subjective.
Everybody's going to feel differently about it. But anyways, kind of talking about, and continuing on open world games, which we kind of like talking about open world games because we don't talk about them enough. That's a lie. One thing, that you're seeing more in open world games and other games, like The Last of Us Part 2, we're also seeing this, is they show you the number of hours that you play a game. Like I said, Last of Us Part 2, every time you save, it shows how many hours you played. I know I'm playing through Assassin's Creed Odyssey right now. Every time you save, it also shows you the number of hours we played.
Origins was the same way. Yep.
Yeah. Origins. Remember? Origins.
Origins. Sorry.
When I mispronounced that one. But this is something that, I thought that I liked at first. Like, I like knowing how many hours I'm into a game and, like, kind of what I've accomplished. But now, I don't know if it's something that I like. Because playing Ghost of Tsushima so far, there might be an hour counter somewhere, but I've not found it. It's not right in front of your face.
Yep.
And here's why I think this is a bad idea. Maybe show it, maybe make people dig for it. Don't just show, like, if I save a game, don't show me the number of hours. Maybe make
right there on your save slot.
Like, yeah, like I know The Witcher 3, giving that game praise because I don't think we praise it enough.
Right.
Like the number of hours wasn't right there in front of you, but you could get to it.
Yep.
And kind of, going on this whole topic of like, why I thought I liked it, but now I don't. I'm going to bring in like, Assassin's Creed. You were talking about Origins, like, you're like 80, 85 hours in. And then when I hit that point in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I started burning out a little bit. And I think, not your fault, but I think it was based on what you said.
It got in your head.
80 to 85 hour range. I was kind of like, this game's kind of dragging on a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, you kind of also throw out the 100 hour mark. Like, a lot of times when people hit 100 hours, they're like, okay, it's time to finish up this game now.
Yep.
And I've been thinking, like, I don't know if I don't like this. I mean, okay, I don't know if I like it or not. I've really not made up my mind on it. As you can see, I'm flip-flopping all over the place. But I'm kind of
we've never done that before.
Yeah, I'm kind of like leaning more
You can't make
towards,
a decision. We established that several episodes
ago. And so then
ago.
we also repeat ourselves constantly after that because, but like, and I'm going to throw it to you here in a second, but this is something
It's all good. I'm just drinking. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think I like because when you don't sit there and pay attention to the number of hours you put into a game, you don't know exactly where you're at. So you're not going to get burnt out because of a certain benchmark. And you just go in and you just play the game and you enjoy it. And I think we're kind of like, as we're getting more stats or whatever in these games, more information basically.
Yeah.
Like I think we're kind of getting away from that joy that we just played a game to play it. We didn't worry how much time it took. We just played it because we loved it and we just wanted to enjoy it. So kind of what are your whole feelings on this?
I'm with you in that I'm very torn. Like, because a lot of gamers out there, most gamers out there, I would say, have a massive backlog of games. And here's where it gets me. Like, when you have 5 or 6 games you want to get to, and you read, like, let's use The Last of Us Part 2 as an example. It's going to be about a 30 to 35 hour game.
Yeah.
You start looking, whatever it ends up taking you. You start looking at that counter. And you keep thinking, okay, once I beat this, and I'm using myself as an example here. Once I beat that, I get to go to and try Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Or maybe Paper Mario Origami King. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably Ghost of Tsushima, let's be honest.
And actually, I got a good point I want to mention right here. When you're talking about I don't know if you actually said this or not, but we're getting close to let's say The Last of Us Part 2 took me 28 hours. So when you are playing and you get to 25 hours, you're expecting the game to end soon, and that might drag out the ending, which we discussed before. So that's kind of a concept I didn't think about, so I wanted to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, but you're absolutely right. But like for me, like I said, in the last couple of years, I've gotten in an unfortunate mindset where I'm like, I need to beat this game and get to the next one. I need to beat this game. And part of that is having a big game log. Part of it's Steam sales, summer sales on Xbox or PlayStation, or the rare Nintendo sale that happens. never.
Yeah, but you're not enjoying games like you should if you're doing that.
Exactly. But you keep thinking, okay, I just need to get through this game to play the next one. And you look at that counter, and Naughty Dog, like we talked about with not only Last of Us, but the Uncharted games were the same way as well. And you're just like, you know, you look at that and you start looking at that and you're like, okay, I think I'm almost done with this game. I think I'm almost done with this game. And it really does sap some of the joy out of it. Like, I know that though, like the flip side of the coin is kind of those open world games where people actually do like to brag about how long they've played a game, especially if you look at something like World of Warcraft that's been going on for over a decade now. I hope that game has some kind of way to track the hours that certain subscribers, because I can only imagine the thousands of, we talk about hundreds of hours, the thousands of hours people have put into something like that. So for open world games, I kind of get it a little bit, because you're like, man, I put 200 hours into Breath of the Wild, whatever. I've got 300 or 400 in Skyrim, according to Steam. Yeah. So, I mean, but when it comes, I feel like, to just trying to get through a single player game or a more linear experience like a Last of Us or anything like that, then you're like, you see that and you start thinking, oh yeah, I'm just trying to get to the next game. I'm just trying to get to the next game. And when you get in that mindset, you're absolutely right. It takes away from the enjoyment of just playing the damn game. Mm-hmm. And so I've tried to pay less and less attention to that stat. I know some games put it right in your fucking face and you can't avoid it. But you know, on the other hand, I don't necessarily want to know when I'm getting close to the end of a game, you know, like in a linear game. Like, you know, and I know it's hard to avoid, like, every review for a game now says, it'll take you about 20 hours to beat it. Or if it's an open world or a JRPG, it's going to take you 100 hours, whatever. But, you know, it's just, I'm with you. I find I enjoy the games a little bit more when I don't see that number. Like, maybe show it to me when I'm done. Like, after I beat it. Like, after the credits roll, show me how I did. Like, I think of Link to the Past. When you beat the game, it shows you how many times you died. Let's do that with hours in games, and definitely. I would be totally okay with that. So that's my 2 cents on it. But, you know, I do get the one thing I will say, sometimes if you're trying to pick out the next game you want to play, it can kind of be a little bit useful, because you're like, okay, I don't want to jump into another 100-hour adventure. What's something that's like a palate cleanser, like a little, 7 to 10 hour run through it and be done. So that is one benefit I do see to it. So do you have anything else on the hours?
No, I didn't have anything else on that one. And sadly, I want to talk about a topic about being able to control people in video games and why we love it, because it's just been a bad week and people are pissing me off. But we're kind of out of time, so we'll go ahead and push that one. I think not next episode, because I think we're going to do something differently. But we'll talk about that subject in the future. Trust me, I will not forget it. Anyways, let's go ahead and wrap up. All the links will be in the description for this, but you can support us on Patreon or PayPal. Patreon's kind of like a monthly thing, subscription based, whereas PayPal is kind of like a one-off. If you can't support us financially, feel free to leave a review or rating. They help with our rankings and SEO, and people, which SEO and rankings are similar. They're sort of the same thing, but it helps when people search, we show up higher. So that's why that helps. Also,
plus,
we have
we're worth
merchandise
5
on our
stars,
website.
baby. We're worth 5 stars.
Definitely. Merchandise on our websites, TGPC Gaming, and also Two Guys Playing Zelda. Those are affiliate shops, so if it tracks correctly, we may earn a commission on purchases through our links. Red, you kind of want to talk about some of the other stuff we got going on?
Well, we're all over social media, first of all. On Facebook, we have 2 groups, Gaming Realm, where we talk all kinds of gaming topics. It's a free-for-all, whatever gaming you want to talk about. Zelda Realm, we dive deep into some Zelda discussions, theories. Both of them are a lot of fun. So if you love games, if you love Zelda, definitely check us out there on our Facebook groups. On YouTube, we've got 2 Guys Playing Zelda with a ton of Zelda videos, theories, walkthroughs, and then just our general TGPZ gaming channel as well. We have a Discord server, which is an absolute blast.
Yeah, go join that.
Go join that. We talk video games in general. We talk Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, PC. We talk booze. We talk sports. We talk whatever people want to talk about. And you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So go hunt us down, look for us, follow us, like us, and everyone out there, just keep staying safe.
Hey, Red, hold on. What we're going to do next week, man? Or not next week. I'm sorry. I don't want to say that because we don't always get to the episodes every week. What are we going to do next? I got an idea for next episode. I kind of want to talk about a game because I've been having fun talking about games. I know you kind of were like, oh, we've been doing Nintendo too much. I think you're a little bit right about that, but I'm not really ready to tackle a big franchise right now because I got a lot of stuff going on in my life. So I was kind of thinking, if you wanted to, next episode, a little Mario Kart 8.
Ooh, we can do a little Mario Kart 8 / Mario Kart 8 Ultimate next week.
Deluxe. It's deluxe.
Or deluxe.
We're not, don't be putting that bullshit on me. We're just talking about Mario Kart 8. Ain't no deluxe. It's the same. Actually, I think they did add a couple things in the deluxe first. Oh, God. See, now I'm upset. Now you made me all upset. You didn't have to.
Now we got to research it.
Yeah, we're going, but next episode, I don't know if it'll be next week or not. Depends if we have time to get to it. And
I can talk some Mario Kart 8, though.
But I say the next episode, let's talk some Mario Kart 8. Anyways, y'all stay safe, stay healthy, keep on gaming, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you, all 1,000 people who've downloaded our podcast. We love you.